Hey guys, welcome back to the Brotherhood of Gaming. For those of you who don't know, I'm your host William Morris, if you're new to the show or channel. Okay, so as many of our followers already know, we are die-hard OG Tomb Raider fans, going way back to 1996 when Lara Croft first debuted on the Sega Saturn, and ever since then we have followed her career ever so closely, and with a critical eye, no less. Bear in mind now, so the new Tomb Raider movie premiered, I believe today, actually. Probably not at the time that you're watching this, but we got back from the premiere showing. And it's been a few hours, so I kind of wanted to let it sit with me before I gave my final thoughts. I don't know, honestly, I might even have to do a couple of showings to really kind of absorb what I saw, because this is sort of, even though it's been a few hours, it's still kind of my first impressions. And I'm still kind of figuring things out. So, for heads up, I just want to let you guys know I will be doing a spoiler and non-spoiler section. I'll be starting with the non-spoiler part right here. So, if you're watching right now, you don't have to worry. I will not spoil anything in the film that you probably don't even already, or if you don't already know it. If you've seen the trailers, but don't worry, you'll be fine. But I will let you know when I talk about spoilers, and there are things that I do want to talk about. Not just with Tomb Raider, but I guess video game movies in general. Alright, so where do I stand with the Tomb Raider franchise? Because unfortunately, one thing that I do have to make clear from the start is that as much as we all love Lara Croft and Tomb Raider and all of her adventurous exploits, there, like many fan bases out there, is a huge divide within the community. I mean, you have the elitist core fan base, which consider every classic game from 96 to 2003 a masterpiece with no flaws, and Crystal Dynamics, when they came in, just ruined everything, and they could never touch the original games. They were untouchable. And how dare they even try? I love the classic games, and you know what? I still have fun with them. I do not judge them or hold a grudge against them for being products of their time. They're still fun classics that I love to return to and play, and you know what? I don't have any fault with them whatsoever. Like, sure, they have their little flaws here and there, but control-wise, they're fine. The Crystal Dynamics games, they did what they had to do for the time because it was a new generation. People were adapting to a new gameplay style. Analog sticks were the rave, and being control of the camera, it needed a new edge, and they gave it that. It gave it what it needed at the time. Then Square Enix came in and rebooted the entire franchise, starting way from the ground up. And this is probably even where the bigger divide comes in. Now we have people that have completely written off the Rise of the Tomb Raider, Survivor is Born, that franchise altogether. Like, this is not my Lara Croft. My Lara Croft was hardcore. This is I don't know who this is, but this is not my Lara Croft. Alright, so clearly, if it's not immediately obvious, the new Tomb Raider movie is based off of the Square Enix Reboot from 2013. So yeah, the trailers when we first saw it were an immediate reminder of all of the events that happened within that first game. And yeah, if you see just the trailers, I would say, honestly, the common complaint was it probably looks too close to the game. Is it going to be just an exact retelling, or is it going to just have certain clips from the game here and there just to kind of show that this is what we're doing? And yeah, that's pretty much where it was. So now let's talk about the movie in a non-spoiler fashion, because I got to be careful, because some of you guys are like, you police that really well. You get really upset when any spoiler happens if you haven't seen the movie yet, so don't worry. So without spoiling anything, what did I think of the film? Well, this is why I wanted to sit down and just think about this for a few hours, because I walked out of the theater, I think, a little too underwhelmed. Not to say that the movie was bad, but I wasn't truly excited or overly joyed when I stepped out of the theater. In fact, I felt wanting. Like, I felt like there wasn't enough. Like, you know how the complaint with the trailers was, like, the trailers looked like they're following the game to the T. Like, after I was done with the film, I felt like they didn't follow the game enough. And if you've seen the movie, you probably already know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, it's difficult to explain it without you having seen it. But I'm trying to my damnedest. All right, look, you won't be bored. I was never bored during the film. I never felt like my time was being wasted. I was always intrigued to see where they were going to go next. There were some twists when it came to the story and involving Lara's parents or father figure, that I didn't expect them to go that route, and it was interesting to see that route taken. However, I can't say that it's original, because clearly we've seen, like, nothing in this movie is really original. Like, you're not gonna see this movie to see any Shakespeare or Oscar-worthy anything. Although I will give I know, like, I'm forgetting her name right now, but the actress that plays Lara Croft in this film, she does do her damnedest. She actually does portray the character well. She's well built. She's definitely a little bit more skinnier than I would say Angelina Jolie's version of Lara Croft was back in 2001. But the actress here definitely has a good build. She does portray a good 2K13 Lara very well. She's got the muscle. She definitely has the acting prowess. She knows what she's doing, and she is definitely trying to give us a good show. That being said, it's like there's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot for her to work with, really, because you got it feels like there's two halves to this movie. You've got the first half, which is focusing on not only getting Lara from point A to point B, which is the island in which the tomb raiding and all that stuff has to take place, but the first half is about character setup, developing who she is, her devil-may-care attitude, and the whole lifestyle. That when you get to the second half of the movie, you're already like pushing the limits. Like, you've got to wrap this up, sort of. You got to rush all of these beats into the film and get it over with, and that's the problem to me that I think I was having, is that I felt like I was liking what I was seeing, but I didn't feel like we were seeing enough of it. We were only seeing like snippets of her doing what she should be doing, and it took place too late. I mean, what we saw was good, but a lot more should have been there. Like, let's see, I don't think this will be a spoiler, but when she finally does don the bow and arrow, which is a trademark signature weapon from the 2K13 Reboot series, I think at most, not counting flashbacks where she's practicing as a child, you see her maybe shoot off at most 6 to 7 arrows, definitely not above 10, and some of them miss. Like, she does a couple of cool things with the bow and arrow, but she loses it pretty quick. And then the rest of the film is, I don't even want to say it without, like, I can't tell you without freaking spoiling it, and that's the problem. So yeah, it just feels like they tried to put as much as they can into the film within the 2-hour time limit, and it feels like they were running out of time. And they just kind of had to move on to the next beat. All right, we did this action scene. Now get on to the puzzle scene. All right, quickly, we did the puzzle scene. Now get on to the running scene. All right, we did the running scene. Now we have to get on to the traps. Like there's so many beats that they're trying to hit, and they're all there, but there's so little of it. And that's what made me feel underwhelmed. Is just like, I was wanting a sequel immediately. In fact, you know what? To talk about video game movies in general, that's kind of the problem with video game movies, is that we're trying to take the entire lore of a video game franchise and trying to jam-pack it into an hour and 30-minute or even a 2-hour film. And more often than not, as history shows, that does not work. Time and care goes into these things. Like any good story, you gotta plan it out. You gotta... Trying to jam-pack it all into a single film is incredibly trialsome, especially if you have writers and directors who aren't part of the original lore and creation, and you're just giving them like the pieces and saying, okay, here's what we have, now make it into a feature film. It's really hard to do, and I credit them for trying. It's not like they did a terrible job, because I cannot say that this was a bad movie. It's not. I don't think it's a bad movie. I didn't dislike it when I walked out of the theater. I didn't even hate it. I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it. I felt just wanting, like I didn't get enough of what I paid to see. And what's probably worse, and there's no getting around this, there's no excuse for this. Obviously, this movie caters to the fans of Tomb Raider who more than likely played the reboot games. Safe to say. Probably, most definitely. Here's the problem with that. If you played the first 2013 game, you probably walked out thinking, I wish they followed it a little more closely, because it's not a lot happens. Definitely, like, they got the elements there, but they definitely didn't go through with it. Not like the game did. I mean, of course, people would argue and say that, oh, but the game has gameplay and like hours, like 40 hours of gameplay. How are you going to put that? Well, you don't have to, because just the cutscenes alone from the 2K13 game can go up to 2 hours. Like, you can make a movie. There's actually, I'm sure if you look it up on YouTube, like cutscenes from Tomb Raider 2013, it'll be like an hour and 30-minute like movie of just the cutscenes from the game. Like, there you go. There's some would argue that was a better movie. So yeah, some would probably say they probably should have followed it a little more closely. I mean, it's not bad what we got, but definitely feels like it should have been a lot more. In fact, I would have pushed and said that this movie kind of needed more time. And not more time for development, but more time as in, why can't this movie be 3 hours long? I mean, if Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter movies couldn't push the 3 hour mark, or hell, 10 Commandments, like what was that pushing, 6 hours? If you need that long to tell a story and people get invested into it, I think they'll stick around. Yeah, it'll be long, but if you tell a good story consistently with good stuff in it, people won't have much to say. I mean, 10 Commandments, again, long as hell movie, but it's highly revered and it's an all-time classic. Titanic, like, wasn't that like a 4 hour film? Again, same thing. Like, I don't think it really matters how long your film is, as long as it's consistently good. When you have a film that's set for an hour and 30-minute time slot or 2 hours, that just makes it all the more harder, because I can already tell there were probably a ton of scenes on the cutting room floor that they wanted to put into the movie but couldn't. So when the movie does make a Blu-ray release, and it will, I'm sure there's probably going to be an extended version. Probably. We'll see. But this is the thing, that when it comes to video game movies, when I saw this, I immediately wanted a sequel because I felt like I didn't get enough. That's where I think video games as movies tend not to work well, because they're trying so hard to jam-pack it all into one. However, if they were to make this, say, a live-action series, say for Netflix, this probably would have been a lot better. Because when you have a series, you can, like, a series on Netflix can be like an hour-long episode, like Stranger Things. Imagine how much development, how much time, how much effort, how much cool stuff you can fit into a single episode, and then you immediately want to see the next one. That's how I think video game, like, well, no longer movies, but how video game stories should progress if they want to be told for the big screen or just for the TV screen and not be in video game form. It's very rare to have a good video game movie. I mean, the first Mortal Kombat was a good attempt, considering there was hardly any lore to go with it. So they just ran with it, and they made a pretty damn good action film. The first Tomb Raider movie, this is where I give the first Tomb Raider movie probably a little bit more props, because even though it's a video game movie, they didn't directly tie Angelina Jolie's Tomb Raider first one into a game. They already took an established Lara Croft and just made a movie about her, as if it was just another adventure in her lineup of adventures that she's already done. This movie is not trying to do that. This movie is clearly trying to tell the reboot origin story of Lara in the same vein that the 2K13 game did. And when you do that, it's impossible not to compare it to the game that tells it. So, yeah, in that sense, the game definitely did it better. But when you have the first Tomb Raider movie with Angelina Jolie, you don't have a point of comparison to make, because it did its own thing. It took the established character and it just put her on a new adventure that was in the movie alone. And it works. With this one, it had the potential, but it just felt like too much in too little a time slot. A decent movie, a decent thriller, action. I would probably say it's probably your equivalent of like your summertime action film, but a little too early for summer. An average moviegoer will probably like it. There's stuff to like in it. The acting is good. The characters are thought out and easily identifiable. I wasn't bored. The plot is easy to follow, very simple. In that sense, it doesn't overcomplicate the plot, because if they were going to follow the 2013 game to the T, things would probably get a little too confusing for your average moviegoer who doesn't follow like deep lore and they just want to see action, dumb fighting. But if you don't want all of that extravagant lore following, then it's a simple movie with a simple goal. All the characters' motives are easily explained and easily thought of. There are definitely some cliches that are ever so tired, but they're there. It just has to be expected at this point. All in all, I would say go check it out and judge it for yourself. It's not a bad movie, but it definitely left me wanting, because I know what to expect when it comes to Lara Croft and her adventures. Even if it's a reboot, even if it's an origin story, I kind of expected a little bit more. And I probably would have gotten more had there had been a time extension on the length of the film. I would have sat there for another hour if we had gotten some more puzzle scenes, action scenes, and some maybe even tomb raiding, dare I say it, where she's not being, like trapped and, well, not trapped, where she's not being held captive and forced to go in through the rooms and puzzle solve with the enemies. Spoilers. So yeah, for your non-spoiler section, there you have it. Not a bad movie, but definitely felt wanting. If anything, it definitely made me feel like playing the game, just because I know that the game told the story better. That being said, it was better than Cradle of Life, but probably only as good as the first movie. Maybe a little better, maybe a little worse. Eyes in the beholder. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I'd like to see an extended cut, please. Okay, so here we are in the spoiler section. Again, I think I did a pretty good job covering everything or saying everything that I needed to say in the non-spoiler thread, so I'll try not to repeat. So if you guys want to know some of my thoughts on the actual plot, well, here's the things that I guess it'll probably be easier to go into the things that I liked and talk about the things that I didn't like. The setup for Lara was really good. I like how we get to see her devil-may-care attitude and just see her everyday life. She has a job, she goes to a gym, she trains, she's low on money, she's got people that are interested in her. She's got a life and she's trying to make it on her own without having to live up to or rely on her father's Croft legacy, because the Croft legacy is big. I mean, we're talking stupid Bruce Wayne rich, as it always has been. They own companies, they own a lot of companies, Croft organizations. It's all over the place. Like, she doesn't even know what companies they own. Now, it starts off where Richard Croft, her father, now once again, we are going with the plot that her parents, or i.e. her father, is an already established sort of archaeologist and a well-known tycoon who has done this before Lara, whereas in the original core games, that was not the case. Mom and Dad just kind of had her estranged from the family like the rest of them, because she just decided on her own to go on these exploits because it was cool. Don't know where she gets it from. She doesn't get it from my side of the family. But ever since Crystal Dynamics took over, they decided to retcon that and sort of have it be in the family that, oh, well, we're kind of all archaeologists to a degree, starting with her father. So yeah, again, this movie kind of picks up on that. The 2K13 game and Rise of the Tomb Raider had that as well, but they went in sort of a different direction where he was kind of going loony. In this movie, he was a well-respected business tycoon, but secretly was doing archaeological stuff because he was looking for his wife, but at the same time he was trying to stop this evil organization known as Trinity that was brought up in Rise of the Tomb Raider back there. Now here's where I thought that could have been interesting, and they sort of backpedaled on it. Because again, the core fans definitely love the aspect that Lara just liked being a Tomb Raider because it was cool, it was fun, it was adventurous, and the rest of her family, mother, father, aunts, sisters, whatever, well, maybe her aunt, didn't get it, and they were just like that's stupid, I don't know why she's doing this. But here's where I thought the movie could have been interesting. Her father wasn't an archaeologist at all. He was just using his expensive business assets to go to all of these exotic places just to find information he could on his deceased wife. And just from that, she can use all, like Lara Croft can use all of those assets to venture on her own exploits just because it was cool. So, but at the same time, it was sort of backpedaling throughout when you find out later that, oh, he actually is into archaeology. He's been doing all of these digging and secrets and puzzles and uncovering truths and trying to stop Trinity from uncovering the tomb. And it's like, you had something going for a minute, but sort of backpedaled on that one. But here's another interesting and or disappointing thing that I thought was kind of dumb in the writing area. All right, so in the original 2K13 game, when they go to the island is cursed by the queen, by the queen of the, I'll just call it the Queen of the Damned. Whenever you go on the island, shipwreck, there's no getting off. Like, it's a cursed island. Anybody who is on the island, that's your home now. You ain't leaving. In the movie, not the case. You can go to the island, you can get off it. It's just kind of an uncharted island. Hard to get off, hard to get on without a plane. And Matthias from the game is brought into the film, but he's definitely not the same Matthias. In the game, he was just some teacher who washed up on the shores and pretty much ran the cult and figured out how to sort of appease the queen just so that he could get off the island. In the movie, he's hired by Trinity to go on this expedition along with Richard Croft, and over the course of 7 years has been staying on this island with a whole bunch of crew members that have been trafficked by other crew members to be forced into slave labor to work with them to uncover the tomb by Trinity. And Trinity is not allowing Matthias to get off of the island to go see his family until they find the tomb, which is weird. Like, no breaks. And early on, we see through flashbacks when Lara's a little girl that Richard is going to go on that expedition with Matthias. And he kind of gives her the same spiel like, oh, Daddy will be back soon. He never does. So 7 years later, when Lara is finally on the island, Matthias reveals instantly to her that, oh, I killed your father. Which immediately that... Let me explain that a little better. Okay, so Lara Croft washes up on the island. Immediately gets, like, sucker punched, but she wakes up in Matthias's little tent. All of her stuff has been gone through already, but she's got her backpack right there. And Matthias obviously still wants the tomb. After 7 years of having been on the island, he killed Richard Croft, or so he let on. And that's kind of after he figures out who Lara Croft is and looks through her stuff. He immediately just goes on like, oh, I killed your father. He wouldn't work with us. And I'm just sitting there thinking, why did you tell her that? I mean, after 7 years of you guys finding nothing, she came to this island competently enough, which is for a girl her age, unheard of. Or for anybody, unheard of, since the island is pretty much uncharted and damn near hard to find and get to alive without a plane. And it happens to be the daughter of the man you needed, and she comes with the keys and the knowledge to find it. And she's not a believer in any of all of the curse and junk at this point anyway, which granted, yeah, he doesn't know that, but still he opens with, "I killed your father," and immediately tries to get her into the slave labor and to join the rest of the slaves just to dig and stuff. Why wouldn't he try to fool her? Like, you know, like, "Oh, Lara Croft, I do know you. Your father and I, we worked together. For 7 years, we were on this expedition, but he passed away so suddenly. It was a horrible accident. And ever since then, we've been stuck on this island trying to find the remnants of the tomb and complete your father's work. And it's amazing that you've shown up here with all of these, with your father's work. Lara, would you help us? Like, all we need to do is find the tomb and we might be able to get off of this island." Something like that. Why not fool her and lure her into that false sense of security and just kind of play it off, and maybe she'd be more willing to help her. And the reason why I say that is because towards the end, when they have the whole leverage thing going on, because her dad's not dead, they capture her dad and they force Lara to help them solve the puzzle to enter the tomb, which is this big elaborate puzzle, just to get inside anyway. So it's like, you know, had you have just lied to her, she probably would have helped you inside. But they got to make a movie, so. Still, plot holes like that. It's just like, why didn't you just play nice? Why did you immediately just have to be a dick? I did find the whole aspect of her suddenly finding her missing father on the island almost immediately after she escapes to be kind of random. Well, yeah, a little out of nowhere and quite forced, really. Like it was. I was shocked and surprised by it because I definitely didn't expect it, and so yeah, not sure what to make of that. It was definitely different. Not sure if I was on board or not. I was kind of definitely not a needed asset, but yeah. I don't know. I'll let you guys be the judge on that one. Do you guys think that her father was necessary? I certainly was kind of like, huh. I mean, surprising, but ultimately necessary? Had we have removed him from the equation, we probably would have got better scenes. So, yeah, I kind of... Maybe it would have been better off if he really was dead. Honestly, yeah, now that I think about it, if he really was dead... Like, imagine if she found his remains, or she found maybe like an old campsite where over the 7 years that they used to be at, and maybe there was like something from him. Maybe she found like some old journals, like a diary or something, where he talked about over the course of 7 years how he was trapped on this island and couldn't make it home. And she just read that, and that alone inspired her to become the better survivor. And she would go and take up arms and craft a bow and arrow in the wild, and then she would not only kick all these guys' asses, she would raid the tombs and find out for herself about the queen and read her father's notes and find out that maybe the curse is legit. Wow, I think I just made a better movie. So, yeah. Again, like I said in the non-spoiler section, I think if this movie was longer, we probably would have got more, because in the end, all the scenes that we expect to be there are there. So it's not like you can't say the movie delivered. It delivered on everything that it said that it was going to do. But the problem is everything that it delivered on was so damn short. Like, we could have did with a few more action scenes, because we really didn't get that many. Yeah, you get the one scene where she's escaping Matthias's terrorist group, which is part of the same scene where she's trying to jump on the plane and trying to survive and get like her rope cut off of her wrist so she can get away, which is immediately followed by just that short glimpse of a fight where she's drowning a guy who's trying to abduct her. And then you take a long break, which leads into a whole bunch of exposition with her father that leads right back into where she finally dons the bow and arrow, takes out a couple guys, sneaks around for maybe like 60 seconds, frees the slaves that have been captured to work for Matthias, and then immediately Dad gets captured, throw away the bow and arrow. You never see it again. And the axe, you know, the pickaxe, last 2 minutes of the film. I'm not even kidding. The pickaxe that is kind of also a signature weapon that Lara uses throughout the reboot. She gets that within the last 2 minutes of the film. Like, when the last guy is already down and she picks it up, chases down Matthias. She doesn't even use it on him. She just drops it, beats up Matthias. Matthias goes down and the whole place is crashing down. She uses the pickaxe one time to just make a leap, grab onto the edge of something, climb out. That's it. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm just sitting there feeling wanting. Like, you have everything there. All the beats are there. It's just, it's not enough. I wasn't satisfied. I was satisfied that they put them there. The small Easter eggs were cool. Not many. But I just feel like, damn, couldn't this have been an hour longer? If it was an hour longer and we had more action scenes, more heavy stuff, more. But yeah, like, the daddy issues thing kind of didn't pan out the way it probably should have. It wasn't as emotionally deep as you'd kind of think it is. Again, I really think it would have been better if he was just dead from the start. So yeah, tough movie to review because I know a lot of Tomb Raider fans are very much starving for this movie to be good because they want the franchise to thrive and survive. But look at it this way. The movie's doing, I think, as of, like, it's still brand new, so I don't think I've even noticed if Rotten Tomatoes has already gotten their hands on it yet. The movie's gonna satisfy probably a decent amount of average moviegoers. Tomb Raider fans may or may not be on board. It depends on which ones. But look at it this way. Shadow of the Tomb Raider teaser just dropped today. Looks good. The game's going to be coming out September, which is really fast, admittedly. So, honestly, I think Tomb Raider is going to be fine. As far as movies go, if this movie isn't successful, I mean, I hope it is. I hope it is. These are just my opinions. I do hope that the movie is successful enough because maybe I'm a tough critic and I just expect the world, and when I don't get it, I'm not mad, I'm just wanting and unsatisfied. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Do you guys feel the same way? Do you guys share the sentiments, or do you think that I'm completely wrong and this movie is flawless and it's a 10 out of 10 film and how dare you criticize this movie? Or do you think it's a steaming pile? I don't know. I wouldn't even go that far. Like, I didn't think it was a pile. Not a steaming pile. I didn't even think it was a pile. I just thought you had all the beats, but I needed more. So yeah, guys, there it is. Not a bad film. Just not enough of a film. Just needs more. I think it took a little too long to get where she needed to go. A little too much surprises with the whole father thing, which probably cut into the necessary action and puzzle solving, which I think would have been a better route if they had taken that. It's called Tomb Raider. Let's see some serious Tomb Raiding action. Oh, goodness, guys. It's been rough because you're going to be hearing a lot of different opinions. I mean, like I said, the Tomb Raider fan base is very divided. You got 3 different factions. The ones that love absolutely just the core games. You got the ones who are casual and are like, Crystal Dynamics didn't do a bad job. And then you have the ones that are for the reboot and against the reboot. It's all over the place, man. Fan bases are pretty toxic. So the only thing I can tell you is to have your own opinion. Go see it for yourself. Judge it on your own merits. I'm only here to tell you my opinion and to share with you whether or not you may enjoy this movie based on if your opinions are similar to mine. Because that's what critics are, right? That's why you listen to certain reviewers and certain critics. You judge them based on the character and based on the personality, and if you think that they might like something, or if they're close to you in personality, whether or not you can judge it, maybe you might like it, who knows? I would say go see it. It's definitely not too long a movie. Like I said, I wasn't bored, so Maybe you won't be bored, but you might feel the same thing. You might even see something I didn't. You might like it a whole lot more than I did. I certainly hope so. I would like to see the movie successful. But unfortunately, the curse that is video game movies, it might not. I doubt it. Who knows? Anyway, guys, thank you for hanging out with me this long if you have. I'm William Morse from the Brotherhood.com. Thank you for watching the channel. Please subscribe and click that bell notification below if you want to see more of our updates and our videos as they come out. And we will see you next time.